Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know by now I review many photographic, audio and video related products. Well today, certainly for the first half, we're actually in the office, and what we're reviewing today is the Fujifilm X-T200. I recently purchased this camera and I've only had it a couple of days and I'm really enjoying it. But I'm not as well. It's a kind of a double-edged sword with this camera. It is really light and compact, and what you're looking at here is actually being filmed on the X-T200. The second half I will actually show you the camera and show you its features, but I just thought I'd do a close-up shot. The wide shot is being filmed on my Sony a6600, and the other angle here is being shot on me Sony ZV-1. Because Sony's is what I use predominantly for my channel. The autofocus is great. I can power it via USB, and you know there's many other features that I do love about the Sony's, and an extended record time. You can just record forever. Now with this Fuji X-T200, I'm limited to 15 minutes in 4K. I say that there is a workaround I found by recording to an external recorder, such as the Atomos Ninja 5, the Ninja Flame, and what have you, via HDMI. I'm not doing that here at the office. I've just set this up rather quickly. The sound is being fed straight into the X-T200. It does have a mic jack, which is wonderful. They put a mic jack on, and I'm running into it my Rode Wireless Go, you can see here. And I think that's great. And you can also see the audio levels on the display, and it has got manual audio control. So all of those things are great. It's got a lovely 3.5-inch articulating screen, so you can actually turn the screen outwards. I'll show you. If we do that, you'll see there that you can actually see the screen, which is absolutely wonderful. So obviously, most of our, us content creators, certainly for YouTube, totally rely on being able to see ourselves. We don't have a film crew, so we need to be able to see the framing. We need to be able to see, what the camera's doing. And that's what I love about the new Sonys, such as the a6600, the 6100. They've all got a flip-up screen, so I don't have to worry about flapping around with plugging in external monitors. And that's again with the ZV-1. That's awesome that you can just simply articulate the screen outwards and you can actually see what you're doing. As far as monitoring the sound, you can as well, which is quite unusual for a camera at this price point. But they've done it via the USB-C port, so they supply this piddly little USB-C adapter. You can see there, USB-C on one end and 3.5mm jack on the other end. And it's great that you can monitor the audio, but what isn't great is that these little adapters will get lost. I'm fairly confident I'm going to be losing that adapter. Hopefully not, but I am confident that I probably will. Based on other Fuji cameras I've had, I do normally lose the bits that come with it. So as I said, this is the visual quality and sound quality coming off the X-T200. It has got a lot of features. The autofocus seems to be pretty good. It's got 425 phase detect autofocus points as well as contrast detect autofocus points. A 24 megapixel sensor. It's not the X-Trans sensor, it's a Bayer sensor, a conventional sensor that you'll find in most other cameras. But the image quality, we'll go through the images a little bit later when we get back to the studio at home. But the image quality is great. As far as powering the camera, it takes the standard Fuji W126 batteries. And again, I think that's great because I have had a few knocking around, so, it's not a problem. It's a bit like the Sony cameras. Battery life isn't great in it, but at least, the batteries are not huge, and if you've got a few spare ones knocking around, and they're cheap to buy off Amazon anyway. So, but what I find is an issue with it, I did think I could power it via the USB-C port. Again, I can with the Sonys, and that's always helpful. You can just leave a camera running, but you can't. You can charge the battery by USB-C. That's how you do charge a battery, unless you buy an external charger. but you can't run the camera from USB-C. That's, to me, a little bit disappointing. I have ordered a dummy battery that goes to USB-C, so I'll keep you posted on that as to, you know, how good that is if it actually works. Now, I've actually got, the lens I've got on the camera today isn't the kit lens that I got with the camera, and that seems a pretty decent lens. I've actually got the XF18-55 lens on the camera today. It is optically stabilised, it's got image stabilisation in the lens, because again the camera hasn't got image stabilisation built into it. It's got digital image stabilisation, they call it the digital gimbal. I've played around with that, it seems okay, but you know, I am finding with the optical stabilisation, I'm getting decent photographs at really slow shutter speeds, like 1/20th and 1/10th of a second. I struggle with that with the Sonys, even with the A6600, which has got image stabilisation. So there we go. So what we'll do now, I think you've seen what the image quality is like. I am lighting it from behind, just one Godox light bouncing off the ceiling. So what we'll do now, we'll close down here and then I'll take it off the tripod and I'll actually show you the camera. Now, as you can see, the image quality that comes off this Fuji X-T200 is great. It's got the 4K, 25p, 24p, 30p, hasn't got 60p, but it's got HD 60p, or in the UK it'd be 50p, for doing, you know, 50% slow motion and that kind of malarkey. And so for a budget camera, and you know, it is a great price. I mean, here in the UK now, or October 2020, you can buy this kit here, which is basically comes with the 15-45 kit lens. It's not the lens I used earlier. The lens I used earlier for filming was the XF lens, the 18-55, which is that one there. It's a higher quality lens, but this one's a lighter lens, so it makes it a really nice light lens for doing vlogging and that kind of stuff. But effectively, that's the Fuji X-T200, and I say the video quality that comes off it is great, and the stills. Just take a look at a few of these stills here. And what I will do, I'll leave a link in the description below to my Flickr page where you can actually get a closer look at the images. I think you can download them if you really wanted to, but at least you can actually delve deeper into the resolution and what the images look like on Flickr than you ever can by watching this YouTube video. The compression that YouTube introduced doesn't really do justice to the dynamic range and the image quality and the sharpness of the images. So that's effectively here the X-T200. It has got, to say, this amazing 3.5-inch articulating screen, so it articulates like that. Really cool. So obviously when you're filming yourself or you want to take selfie photographs, that is really good to have the articulation. It's a really sharp screen as well. Really nice screen. It's touchscreen. I like its touchscreen implementation. Seems to work absolutely fine. I've not had any issues with it. Doesn't seem to be sluggish. It seems to be, you know, pretty responsive. And I say it is all touchscreen, so you can actually just touch the focus wherever you want to focus, and that's what it will focus on, and then that's you know, where it will take the picture. It's yeah, it's good. It has got your normal sort of PASM done. This is a kind of a departure for Fuji. I think what they're trying to do is attract smartphone users or people that are coming from, you know, a point and shoot camera possibly, although they don't really exist these days. But I think they're targeting, you know, the smartphone shooter that are A, used to a touchscreen, and B, are more used to a PASM dial. You know, your program, automatic, manual, control shutter speed, aperture priority and that kind of malarkey. Because if you look at a traditional Fuji like the X-T1, X-T2, X-T3, X-T20, 30, the list goes on, they have you've got your ISO dial, you have your shutter speed dial, and your apertures around the lens. But here they've gone for a conventional PASM dial, and you can see that on the top plate there, as I said, where your aperture priority, shutter priority and whatever is selected. This dial here isn't actually marked as to what it can do. I think that's really good. A few people have criticised that. When it comes out of the box, it's set up for setting your what film simulation you want. I've actually reprogrammed it to be my ISO dial. So when I turn that, my ISO change, yeah, you can see it changing. That's actually changing the ISO as opposed to anything else. And I really like that. So now, for me, I've got ISO on there here. Aperture is the front dial here, which is fairly, obviously very traditional. And this one is set up for exposure compensation. Don't know if you'll be able to see that, but that adjusts the exposure compensation, and there's a little needle that goes up and down on the side of the screen. So it's very intuitive and works great. No problems with it working. And as I say, the images come out really sharp. Yeah, great design camera. Got a built-in viewfinder. It's not a large viewfinder, but it is there, and it's fine. It works. It works great. It's not the largest magnification, is what I mean by large viewfinder. But again, another thing I love about Fuji's, I really wish Sony would do it. But with Fuji, you can go into the menu and adjust the size of the information. So basically the text that you see, where you see your shutter speed, your aperture settings at the bottom of the screen here, you can adjust the size of that. And with my bad eyes, I've made it larger. And you can also set, what information is displayed. So everything about this Fuji camera, as with virtually all Fujis, is very configurable. So you can set it up how you want it set up. And I've got both the viewfinder set up with large text and the monitor set up with large text, because you can set either or up. And again, I love that with the Fujis. That is great. Various function buttons. You've got, it hasn't got a pad dial on the back, which you would find on most cameras, but it's made up for by this jog control here, which adjusts your focus. I've got this set up to adjust the focus points wherever I want, so either single point, and then I can move that to go right to, it goes through zone right through to wide. So that's great useful tool that. But yeah, so it's got the jog dial here, but I've set up these different function buttons to do the things that I need it to do. I've got one set up for a quick menu, goes into the quick menu. The other one set up for face face detect, to turn that on, off, because there are occasions for the autofocus, if you know you're not photographing faces, is to turn off face detect. I think that way the autofocus seems to work a bit quicker. I have found on certain situations it can be a bit sluggish. I don't know why. I don't know if it's something I haven't set up right or whatever. It finds the focus, and then it can be a bit sluggish and actually taking the photograph. There seems to be a delay. Not very often. I haven't found this constantly, but it does happen. And I don't know if that's something to do with me or whether that is just, how the camera works. But yeah, as I've said before, mic jack on the side. So great that it has got the mic jack just on the side here. Oh, bit fiddly to get out. There's a mic jack just on the side of the camera, standard 3.5mm mic jack with manual audio control settings, so you can set the audio manually. And again, I've preset that in the quick function menu. So I can go into the quick function menu and I've got audio control settings there. And again, the function menu is all touchscreen, so you can go into, you know, whatever you want just by touching the screen, which is very much like the Panasonic cameras, Canon, and there's probably others as well, but particularly Panasonic and Canon. Sony haven't really implemented the touchscreen terribly well, but I think Fuji have done a pretty good job here, and I'm very pleased with that. So yeah, overall, it's a great piece of kit. It's got HDMI out, and I use that again for recording to my Atomos recorder. The nice thing with the Fuji, as opposed to the Sony, you don't lose the screen and you don't lose your autofocus, so you can still see the back of the screen, and it still retains the autofocus when you're outputting via HDMI, so you can actually record for longer than 15 minutes. I haven't tried the overheating yet. Apparently this camera does have a tendency to overheat. I've not managed to get it to overheat as yet, so whether that's because of, you know, a firmware update, I don't know. But I'm not going to say it doesn't, because I've not got that far yet. But yeah, a built-in flash. It's a manually operated flash. There's a little trigger on the side here, whether that can be seen, a little trigger on the side there, and that pops up the flash. So manually operated flash. It is made of plastic. I think it's plastic. Can't really tell, but I think that is plastic. But it keeps the weight down. So when you are doing, you know, doing your creative vlogging bits and pieces, you know, it's wonderful because it's not heavy, and you can hold that, because the grip is quite nice. You can hold that quite comfortably. In fact, you can hold that very comfortably. It would have been nice if I could have pre-programmed or reprogrammed the shutter button when you're in movie mode to be able to start the video running. That would have been nice. I haven't found a way of doing that, and I don't think you can do that, because the shutter, the release button for videos, this tiny little red button beside the shutter button, but you're not too sure if it's started or if it hasn't. And the display in the viewfinder is just a really small little red glow. It's not terribly prominent. Again, it's a little bit of a shame they haven't got a tally light on the X-T200. The X-T3 and 4 have the tally light, so you can actually see that you're recording. My ZV-1 over here is great. It's got the big bright red tally light, so I know clearly that is recording. Same with my Atomos recorder. It's got the big red line going around the actual monitor, so you can clearly see that is recording. But on this one, it's not always obvious that you're recording. Let's put it in video mode. So when you click on video, always try and do these things back to front is never easy. So when you click on record, it will start recording, and you can see the red light is glowing there. So you can see it is actually recording, and then that will stop it, but there's no indication. Again, I'm sure that could be done with a firmware update. And in Fuji, if you ever watch my videos, it might be worth looking into that, because you know, using the focus lamp, the focus assist lamp, as a tally light for video recording, I think that would be really useful. But its 3.5-inch screen is great for video, isn't it? And it's 16:9 aspect ratio, not like all the others where you get it crops the top and bottom. This doesn't. It's the full width of the screen when you're in the video mode, and I think again that's great, because if you look at that screen, that's the full width of a video, the full 16:9 aspect ratio for video that's showing up on the screen. And I think that's blooming great. I love that. That's really good. And they're saying the face detect, because it's using phase detect autofocus points as well as contrast detect. It's a hybrid system. It's got 425 focus points. So it's pretty accurate, and it is pretty good. I found it really tenacious, and you know, it kind of really does lock on your face. Very nice piece of kit. Shame about the headphone support. It's via USB-C. I showed you the adapter a little earlier. I will lose that, but you know, it's a fantastic price. You know, I think you can't beat it. It's cheaper than the Sony. I think the A6100. If you're into video, I would still recommend the A6100. Sorry, Fuji, but I would, and that's only because unlimited 4K recording. It doesn't seem to overheat, and you can run it off USB-C where you can't with the Fuji. But you know, I think as a great stills hybrid camera, stills and you know a bit of video. Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with a Fuji. I'm really glad I bought it. Really enjoying using it. The kit lens is nice and compact. The XF 18-55 you can pick up at a really good price now, and that's a lovely lens. That's the that's a lens with a proper aperture ring, so you can control the aperture via the camera. It so reminds me of the old days, you know, where you did have a shutter speed dial on the top and the aperture ring was around on the lens. Lovely focus ring, a zoom ring, sorry, that's lovely zoom ring on it. It's just such a nice lens, and produces beautiful pictures with, you know, optical image stabilization in that lens. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of the Fuji cameras, and I really like this particular camera. Even though it has got, you know, it's got its drawbacks, as all cameras do. There isn't a single camera on the market that you can say, you know, is great for everything and is the bee's knees, because it doesn't exist. So there we go. That's the Fujifilm X-T200 initial thoughts. I will be doing a lot more videos about the Fuji X-T200. And if there's any questions you have about the X-T200 or any of the cameras, particularly Sony or Fuji, please get in touch. I would, you know, love to hear from you. But yeah, that's the Fuji X-T200. So there we go. Hope you found that useful. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. I'm really loving all the subscriptions I'm getting. It really does motivate me, and it encourages me to produce more content. It helps me grow the channel. So I appreciate every single one of you that have liked and subscribed to this channel. And if you like the content of this particular video, please hit the like button. That also helps me grow the channel. Really appreciate all of it. So thanks very much for watching. Oh, just so you know, by the way, I'm recording the sound as I always do with my Rode M5, which is here. I haven't got the microphones going directly into any of these cameras, but we Rode M5 going into my Rodecaster Pro. So then I sync the two of them afterwards. Main camera, I get a lot of people ask me this question, because what I do a 3 or 4 camera shoot, and then I edit it all together, do a multicam edit afterwards. But the main camera is my A7 III, Sony A7 III, going into my Atomos recorder, and then I got the A6100 with the Sony 16-70 lens picking up the wide shot there. I got my Sony ZV-1 picking up the close-up shots of the camera, and then over my shoulder another 6100 just getting an angle looking across. So and that's got the 18-105 lens on. So there we go. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you found this content useful. Please subscribe and stay tuned for more videos relating to video photography and now audio. Thanks very much. See you again soon. Bye.